Hello, this is David Hughes. This is the fourth video. I am trying to keep the videos short and sweet. We left off by looking at a private page, and that's actually one of the ways to access the forms. You can see the forms here. Another way to access the forms, if I go to back into the site. Okay, if I scroll down here, and you cannot access these forms if you're not logged in, but these are all sort of like general optional forms just to gather information to make it easier for the advisor and to provide an opportunity to give you a discount, etc. So if I click the first one, that's really just general information, and most people should be able to fill that in. And really, what we're looking for here is, just what sources of income you've had, etc. And if you notice, it opens in a separate tab, so you don't lose your. If you're in your private page accessing it, you wouldn't lose that. Form 2 is split between the different sections. So if I go into employment, what you will notice is that there are some questions, and depending on what your answer is, some things will appear. Okay, so if I clicked 1, it'll just come up with the request for 1 employer details, 2, 2, and there's not many people who have 3, but there is an option for a third one. And there is, as you can see, there's advice at the side, such as explain what benefits in kind are. And whenever I say benefits in kind, not tax at source, the trend now is to put the value of the benefit into the actual payroll system. But if that doesn't happen, you'll get a P11D in July, which has to go into your tax return. So if you click yes there, it'll give you a few options. And again, this is not tax software, it's optional. It's just to give us an indication of what money you've received, what type of money, expenses, etc. So it's not something to get worried about. I've tried to put these together, not using spreadsheets. And if we go down again, items will appear only if you select certain answers. And I've put down here, make use of the tax tips in the main site. There's about 30 odd tax tips on the main site. So if I go back, if I close that one down and go into investments, really it's the same idea. There's some are quite straightforward, like interest will be straightforward. Dividends is one of those things that's a bit odd. You can actually put in foreign dividends up to £300. Capital gains is something that people might want to leave because it is quite tricky, but for people who feel confident, I've put in boxes where they could put in the information. Income from UK property, not your own home, unless it's you're renting out a room, which you get rent a room relief. But if you have a UK property business, then it'll bring up this, and rather than put down every single property, this really just asks for the summary. And there's boxes here that you can tick that relate to items of the UK property business. That if you tick those, we might need to chat about it later. And there's an option for putting in other information, etc. And okay, so if I close that form down, the other ones are quite similar. Inheritance tax and trusts are something that are quite complicated sometimes. So people receive income or whatever. I don't blame. I wouldn't blame them for not wanting to fill that form in. The one that is a bit different is the business details. It's done on a different form builder, because you're able to put in sort of expandable lists of expenses. So in other words, I could click that, and there's a drop down of the expenses that you can choose. Okay, so and then you put in the amount excluding VAT. If there's private use, that's in 0.2, i.e. 20%. Optionally, you can put in the date if you're putting in individual transactions, which you can do. Then you can actually put in the date. There is the option of preparing accounts on the cash basis. I'm totally against that for a lot of reasons, which I would explain to you if you wanted to. There's a lot of downsides to it. Capital allowances is something that people might not understand very well. Basically, it's any capital costs that you have. You normally depreciate in the accounts, but that is not allowed. Instead, you're allowed to claim capital allowances. So this area here, unless you're familiar with the concept of capital allowances, it might you might struggle a wee bit, but we can arrange a Skype or a WebEx meeting. But again, you can put in amounts brought forward. You normally have general pool, private use, etc. What you probably would be more able to do is putting in purchases. So you can put in as many purchases as you want. Okay, so I think that's just a second option there. At the bottom of the list, there is losses. Now losses are treated in many different ways. If you have a trading loss, then you have certain options, and those options depend on many factors, including whether you prepare your accounts on a cash basis, which excludes some of the options that you have, and whether you've just started or ceased trading. And basically the same form can be used for a share in a partnership. If it's a case of somebody else has prepared the partnership return, then that's very straightforward. They should give you the amount of your taxable share of trading income and probably interest as well. But if you need a partnership return done, then you could use the expense analysis above. And then there's plenty of text boxes. So some of it may look daunting, but really the philosophy behind this is to avoid us doing too much bookkeeping, to give you more information about your own finances, and it actually allows us to give you a discount on your fee as well. So there is advantages to doing it, but it is optional, and if people don't feel they can do it, that's fair enough. But if they want to do it along with me or somebody else, in a Skype meeting or something like that, then that would be great. It's great to understand finances better. So if I close that down, now that only covers sole traders, individuals, partners. I haven't included companies because there are. I use Zero accounting software, and they do have templates for statutory accounts. Now they need to be amended to bring them into line with IFRS or FRS 102. It's important that people understand that any period beginning on the 1st of February 2015 have to either adopt either IFRS or FRS 102, and the actual change process is fairly lengthy, and it's worth getting started sooner rather than later on that. So that's the reason I haven't included any company forms yet, and I might not ever, because we're into territory of statutory disclosures, etc., which would be a little bit complicated for most people. So those are the forms. I think. Let me see if I go to. You can, in most of the private pages, write a testimonial on one of the forms, which will eventually go into here. Another aspect is I've set up an introducer scheme, which is probably a little bit more generous than the normal. So in other words, depending on the type of client, etc., there's a certain percentage fee that is paid to an introducer. So an SME company, 5 to 10 million, they could be charged up to £4,000 in a year. And there's many of those in Northern Ireland. And people can earn first year 1,200 and then 400 the next year, so that's £1,600 for that introduction. So there is it is a little bit more generous than what you would find elsewhere, but the drive in Accountseasy is to build it quite quickly, and that's one of the reasons. Finally, and I'm not sure how well this is going to be taken up, is teasers. Basically, what this is I'm very gradually going to offer the opportunity to learn a bit more about finances. So each month I'll put a question down, and people have the opportunity to respond. And at the end of the month, I'll post maybe a page, explaining the different aspects, or put a video on YouTube, etc. So this is really free learning for people who want to learn a wee bit more about finances. And that's really it. I don't really want to go into anything else. You can explore the website whenever you want to. Okay, I think that's the last video on the actual website, but there'll be more videos on things like the teasers and maybe a few Excel tips, etc. Okay, thanks, etc.